Hello everyone, welcome back to Believer CS Academy, Bengaluru. This is daily news analysis session. In today's news analysis session, I have chosen some 5 to 6 important articles from various newspapers like the Hindu, Indian Express, etc. So the first article for the day is from the Hindu first page, which talks about Nipah virus resurfaces in Kerala and what are the key factors and its implications. So it is important from UPSC Current Affairs, Health, GS paper 2 and GS paper 3. Why it is in news? Recently, Nipah virus has resurfaced in Kerala with the 2 new confirmed cases reported in Kozhikode and Palakkad districts. Okay, so like who got infected, etc. is not important from UPSC perspective, but we have to understand what is Nipah virus, whether it is virus based or whether it is bacterial based, is there vaccine available for this, etc. etc. Any disease has to be studied in this regard. Source, vector, is treatment available or is vaccine available, and what are the different areas of symptoms, etc. etc. has to be studied for a particular disease. So in Nipah virus, as the name suggests, it is a viral based disease. It was first identified in 1998 in Malaysia. Okay, so zoonotic virus. It is transmitted from animals, especially fruit bats to humans. What is zoonotic? Zoonotic is any disease which is transferred from animals to human beings. Animals to human beings is called as zoonotic disease. Okay, and then transmission, it also spreads through contaminated food or human to human contact. And the symptoms are fever, headache, drowsiness, disorientation, leading to encephalitis. That is a brain damage or brain inflammation. Encephalitis is again a different disease altogether. So this disease itself is a symptom of Nipah virus. That is how significant Nipah virus, or that is how dangerous Nipah virus is. Then fatality rate can be as high as 40 to 75%. No specific treatment or vaccine exists yet. Very, very important. There is no specific treatment or vaccine existed. Only supportive care can be given, that is treating the symptoms. Okay. So impact of Nipah virus is on public health. Causes recurrent outbreaks in Kerala, notable in 2018, 19, 21, 23. And also it triggers quarantine, contact tracing and isolation protocols. Since it can be transferred from human to human contact, a quarantine is very important and puts health infrastructure under stress, especially in rural and semi-urban regions. Then government response and challenges. That is surveillance intensified in Kozhikode, Palakkad and Malappuram, and containment zones are likely to be declared, and NIV Pune's quick diagnosis reflects improved epidemiological preparedness. Okay, Pune's like NIV is an institution in Pune which has which has developed a tool which is able to diagnose it very quickly. Okay, half of the battle is won when you are able to diagnose a disease quickly. Okay, then there is also need for greater public awareness, rapid response terms and PPE supplies. So that is about NP, very small topic but significant from especially prelims pointers. Then second one is, it was again from the first page of the Hindu. It talks about Supreme Court to hear Tamil Nadu's plea on universities vice chancellor appointment laws. Okay, in the 2024-2025, one of the chief area of discussion was Uniform Grant Commission's new laws by the central government and the opposition of state governments to these laws. Okay, we have already discussed it many times, but today we'll just stick to the current affairs. So it comes under polity, center-state relations, separation of powers and judicial review. The context is the Supreme Court has agreed to hear Tamil Nadu's challenge to a Madras High Court interim stay on 9 state laws that gave the state government the authority to appoint vice chancellors of state-run universities. But the issue here is the authority was given to state government instead of the governor, which was given to the governor under the new Uniform Grants Commission law by the central government. Okay, so that is how it is in conflict with the central law. So as a result, Madras High Court put a stay on this one. Now, so background is in May 21, 2024, Madras High Court stayed the operation of 9 Tamil Nadu acts related to appointment of vice chancellors. The laws were passed by the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly and the governor did not act on them for months. Okay, so there was a tussle going on between governor and the state government. On April 8, Supreme Court ruled that the bills had received deemed assent under Article 200 due to inaction by the governor. Okay, what is Article 200? Under Article 200, it talks about the role of governor. That if there is any law enacted by the state government after being passed by both the houses of the state government, state legislature, it goes to the governor. Governor has certain possibilities under his hand, discretion under his own. One is he gives assent to this, other is he rejects it, third is he withholds it without giving any action, that is there is inaction, and then finally is he can reserve it for the consideration of president. Here he didn't assent or he didn't reject or he didn't reserve it for the president, so he only withheld it for so many of times, and the Supreme Court ruled that the inaction for so many months has resulted in deemed as assent. Okay, so this was set as a new precedent by the Supreme Court that if there is inaction by the governor, it is deemed as a assent. Okay, following that, state notified the acts removing the governor's role as a role in vice chancellor's appointment, and then Madras High Court had put a stay on these laws. Then Supreme Court development was a bench of Justice P.S. Narasimha and R. Mahadevan issued notice to all the respondents. Who are the respondents? High Court petitioner, Union Government, University Grants Commission, Tamil Nadu's Governor's Office, Ministry of Education. All these are the stakeholders here. And then Tamil Nadu's transfer petition, that is to move the case to Supreme Court, will be heard after summer vacation, that is during the mid-July. And Solicitor General Tushar Mehta argued that law conflicts with the UGC regulations of 2018, hence it is unconstitutional. That is the argument of the central government. Solicitor General is supporting or upholding the views of the central government. He is representing central government. Tamil Nadu argued that the legislative laws enjoy presumption of constitutionality and the courts should be cautious in issuing interim stays against them. Okay, so presumption of constitutionality in the sense, if the court is putting stays on these kind of laws, it is against separation of powers, which is against checks and balances as well. And then key constitutional and legal issues in this case is, first and foremost is the center-state relations, that is who controls higher education. Center via UGC Act, state via universities. And then under UGC Act, center says it is the power of central government, whereas according to the various state acts, it says it is the duty of state. Okay, like previously it was a duty of state with respect to state universities, it was a duty of center with respect to central universities while appointing the vice chancellor. But this was changed during the recent UGC regulations and recent UGC Act. Then education is in the concurrent list, meaning both center and state can have their say in this one. Conflicts arise over repugnancy. Article 254 talks about repugnancy. That is, what is repugnancy? Repugnancy is conflict between central law and state law. Central law versus state law. It says that under Article 254 clause 1, if there is a state law, central law and state law, conflict between central and state law, then central law prevails. Okay, repugnancy with respect to concurrent list. And if there is a state law already present and center brings a law in this one, then central law again prevails here. Okay, and then there is central law and state brings a law with the recommendation and the permission of the president, then the state law prevails here. Okay, there are certain recommendations provisions under the Article 254. Then the role of governor. As chancellor of universities, governors hold power to appoint vice chancellor, but can states legislate to change this? Okay, can the states really do this? That is the questions in front of Supreme Court, which has to look into the current case. And political tensions exist when the governor acts contrary to the elected state government wishes. Okay, instead of acting as a state head or head of the state of a particular state, governor is in certain cases acting as the agent of the center. That comes in conflict with constitution as well. Then, with respect to judicial review and presumption of constitutionality, High Court stayed state laws before the final hearing. SC may clarify whether the interim stays are valid in such constitutional disputes. Again, this question has to be answered by the Supreme Court. And then deemed assent under Article 200. Okay, SC's earlier ruling enforced timely gubernatorial action. Inaction by governor leads to deemed assent. This was a precedent set by the Supreme Court. Previously, there was no action like this. There is no provision like this under the constitution as well. So this has to be seen by the Supreme Court again. Then this ends our present discussion. In other class, in our topic of discussion, etc., we will be discussing again about UGC regulations. I think there is already a hot topic with regard to UGC regulations and how it is conflicting with central and state laws. That you can check in the channel again. Then third one is India's neutral stance on Dalai Lama succession. Okay, recently we have already updated shorts regarding Dalai Lama, who is Dalai Lama, etc., etc. But again, since it is in news again and again, we have to see it from the broader perspective. It comes under international relations, relation between India and its neighbor China, and Tibet issue. Okay, and freedom of religion also. What is the news? News is that Dalai Lama is going to turn 90 on July 6, 2025. He announced that the succession of his spiritual lineage will continue after him. Okay, present Dalai Lama is nothing but a religious head of a Tibetan Buddhist lineage. Okay, Gulag tradition. That is the Gulag tradition follows Dalai Lama as a spiritual head. He is similar to Pope for Catholics. Okay, and then he asserted that the Garden Ford Rank Trust set up by him will identify successor, reigning China's authority on the matter. China warned India against interfering in its domestic affairs, asserting that Beijing alone has the right to decide the next Dalai Lama under golden run system of the Qing dynasty. Okay, that is what the China has warned India. Whereas India's response was, Ministry of External Affairs stated that it takes no position on the religious issues. And Minority Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju also said that practicing Buddhist supported by the Dalai Lama's right to decide a successor, but later clarified that he spoke in his personal capacity, not with respect to Ministry of External Affairs. Then background is the 14th Dalai Lama, that is the present Dalai Lama, is Tenzin Gyatso. He fled to India in 1959 following the China's crackdown in Tibet. India granted him asylum in Dharmashala and made Dharmashala become the seat of Tibetan government in exile. China considers the Dalai Lama a separatist and claims full control over Tibetan religious affairs. China considers Dalai Lama as a terrorist as well, whereas they deemed Masood Azhar not as a terrorist under the United Nations. That is the hypocrisy of China. Then succession of Dalai Lama is key to Tibetan identity, and China wishes to install a puppet figure under its control. So India's position is that official position is there is no position because it is a regional, religious issue. Political sensitivity, that is balancing domestic support for Dalai Lama with a diplomatic caution, is the important view. And minister's view is that Kiran Rijiju's view is that he holds that they are personal views, not the government's response. So China's position is it is authoritarian nature. It says that the next Dalai Lama will be decided by the Chinese government under the Qing dynasty's golden system. So way forward is that is we should maintain strategic ambiguity, that we should not get involved too deeply in this one, and continue to shelter Tibetan exiles as per the international obligations, that is under the treaty of, not the treaty but the principle of non-refoulement, and then engage diplomatically with China on wider bilateral concerns to preserve escalation, explore the Buddhist diplomacy route in South and Southeast Asia as a counter narrative to China's control over Tibetan Buddhism. Okay, so these are the ways India can exert pressure on China. Okay, then this is an important editorial in the Hindu. It talks about two democracies and the echoes of tyranny or tyranny. So it was written by Sanjay Hegde. So the central theme is that the article draws parallels between India and the United States, warning that authoritarianism can emerge from within democracies, often legally and through erosion of the institutions and constitutional norms rather than overt coups or revolutions. They say that authoritarianism is not because of the coup d'etats or the revolutions in the government. Instead, it is through the legal and erosion of institutions by the democratic governments. He makes a comparison between United States and India and says that there is authoritarianism growing on in both the countries. These are not my views, or these are not of the view of the public. These are the views of Sanjay Hegde. The key arguments and insights given by him are: democracy is fragile and must be defended. That is, democracies like India and USA are not immune to authoritarian tendencies. Constitutions are not self-executing. They rely on the integrity of institutions and the courage of individuals. Okay, they cannot execute themselves. The constitution cannot execute themselves. They have to rely on the institutions, various institutions like legislature, judiciary, executive, etc., etc. Okay, the way they work, the way they handle things defines the execution of constitution. Then India's emergency in 1975-77, a cautionary tale. The author says that it was declared by Indira Gandhi after being found guilty of electoral malpractice. Civil liberties were suspended, press was censored, and more than 1 lakh people were jailed. Emergency was not imposed through military force, but by exploiting constitutional provisions, that is under Article 352. So he says that there was authoritarianism in democracy without any revolutions or armed rebellion, but it was done by the use of legally or constitutionally available provisions. And then complicity in institutions or of institutions. Judiciary, except Justice H.R. Khanna, civil servants and media largely enabled authoritarianism during that case. The 44th Constitutional Amendment was enacted to prevent recurrence, but institutional damage persisted. Okay, and then parallels with the US. The former US President Donald Trump is used as a contemporary example of a leader who undermines constitutional norms while operating within legal bounds. Okay, and then with the majorities in Congress and courts, institutions may become tools of power rather than checks on it. That is what he deems is happening in the United States at present. Historical irony and generational responsibility. Rahul Gandhi invokes the constitution as a shield against authoritarianism, though his grandmother once bent it. No, not my views. Again, views of the other. The constitution is not a relic but a living document. Okay, needing defense and reinterpretation by the each generation. And tyranny comes legally and slowly. It doesn't arrive with the talks but through laws, passively, and erosion of accountability. That is what happened in 42nd Amendment by the Indira Gandhi government. And then the difference between democracy and monarchy is not form but a substance. That is, the presence of checks and balances and accountability is present in democracy, not present in monarchy. If these checks and balances are undermined, or if these checks and balances are misinterpreted, then it is going to obviously lead to monarchy in democracy. So what should be the way forward then? Way forward should be strengthening institutional independence. That is, institution should be working on their independence instead of relying on the government or the opposition party for that say. Then protect constitutional morality, upholding the spirit, not just the letter of the constitution. And there is also need of civic vigilance. That is, citizenry should take active participation and in defending democracy. And there is also need for whistleblowers and dissenters, encouraging legal dissent and protect those who speak truth to the power. This was not upheld during the emergency of Indira Gandhi period because 1 lakh people were arrested because they were whistleblowers and dissenters against the government. And then large legal reforms, that is, tighten emergency provisions and increase transparency in government actions. Okay, very important article. These are political in nature, but some of the points can be used for your UPSC preparation as well. Then another article from the Hindu only, which is mainly from the perspective of prelims, that is Apache AH-64E attack helicopter, India's new combat edge. What is the news? The Indian Army is set to receive the first batch of Apache AH-64E attack helicopters from the United States, strengthening its combat aviation wing. That is the Apache AH-64E helicopter. They are in addition to 22 helicopters that are already in service with the Indian Air Force. Okay. So facts about Apache AH-64E is that it is also called as Apache Guardian type. It is a twin engine tandem seat multi-role attack helicopter. It is manufactured by Boeing, also used by USA, UK, Israel, Japan, South Korea, UAE, etc. etc. It is 17.88 meters in length and it weighs 10,433 kg, maximum speed of 300 km per hour, very important, and combat range of 500 kilometers. And primary role is precision strikes, reconnaissance, and closure support. See the diagram here. See the image here. So all the missiles, etc., etc., machine guns are carried on top of this attack helicopter. Okay, not necessary. And then technological advancement is there is an open architecture, that is modular upgrades possible in navigation, communication, and sensors. Integrated infrared laser is also available, which enhances night vision and targeting. And then there is digital operability for joint combat missions and better data sharing. Improved lift survivability, decision aids compared to other helicopters. So Apache in Indian context, that Indian Air Force received 22 AH-64Es under deals signed in 2015. So there are already 22 available with the Air Force. Now extra will be added to the Army wing. Then deals signed in 2024, 6 more Apaches tailored for ground support, especially in high altitude zones like Ladakh. Also, there is a component of Make in India, that is Boeing has set up a Tata Boeing joint venture in Hyderabad for fuselage assembly. Okay, not the complete assembly or not the complete manufacturing of these material helicopters. Instead, it is only fuselage assembly. Then the last article for the day is Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Okay, why it is in news? That is Ethiopia's mega hydropower project and a geopolitical flashpoint. Recently, Ethiopian PM announced that Grand Ethiopian Renaissance on the Blue Nile River is officially inaugurated in September 2025. Okay, will be inaugurated in September 2025. It is project has been a point of tension between Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan due to disputes over the Nile water sharing. Okay, this is the dam, you can see in the image here. So it is located on the Benishangul Gumuz region, Western Ethiopia. This region becomes important for you. There can easily be a match the following question in UPSC prelims. They can give Benishangul Gumuz region, and in the options they can give Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan. Okay, the river on which the dam is constructed is Blue Nile River, which is a major tributary of the Nile, which it originates in Ethiopia. Okay, there is Blue Nile and then there is White Nile. White Nile, which starts from beyond in Victoria, then transferred to Egypt, whereas Blue Nile originates in Ethiopia and then joins the Nile River. And then it was started in April 2011, almost 14 years to complete it. It is a roller compacted concrete gravity dam. Ethiopian Electric Power Corporation is the owner, capacity of 6000 megawatt, which makes it the largest hydropower plant in Africa. A reservoir capacity has 74 billion cubic meters. Okay, and not necessary. Strategic importance is largest hydroelectric project in Africa, aims to provide affordable power to millions of Ethiopia and neighboring countries, enhances regional influence and energy security. But why is it controversial? It is controversial because Egypt and Sudan has concerns. Egypt's concern is that it relies 90% on Nile for its water needs. Okay, if the major tributary of the Nile is being constructed under a dam, then it is going to impact the water needs of Egypt. It fears that reduced downstream flow affecting agriculture, drinking water, and national security. And it demands a legally binding agreement on dam operations and water release. Sudan concerns is while it supports GARD for its potential flood control and cheap electricity, it fears sudden water releases during the higher monsoon seasons and lack of data sharing, risk to its own dam infrastructure, etc. etc. So yeah, Ethiopia says that it asserts sovereign right to use Blue Nile for its development, refuses binding restrictions, supports a guideline-based approach. So this ends our today's discussion. Important articles which I found to be important from UPSC perspective. So if you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.